Well, hello traders and investors. I'm Ellie Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. And that means that we look at the charts, we ask ourselves, were there any tests of significance? We saw one last night. Actually, we saw two last night that suggested this market should trade lower today, and lower it did. If you're not a subscriber to the videos, if you want to subscribe, just reach up in the right hand corner and do so. Anytime I push public content, you'll get a notification. We're just talking about, market wanted to trade down. Well, down it did, pretty heavy. Percent and a quarter, 1.5%, almost 2% on the Russell. Bonds sold off, oil sells off, silver, gold sells off. Everything sells off except for what? The dollar. It's the currencies, folks, that's moving this guy. In particular, the British pound, the sterling. This thing takes a plunge, and a vertical plunge at that. After hours, we actually got a push back the other way, so we've kind of arrested this huge decline. If you look at it on a weekly basis, you can see the kind of damage that's been done. Ever since the Brexit move, that was back on June 20th, you've had a tremendous spike to the downside. You went from 145 at this point down to 118. That's 27 points, and 27 points is a significant amount of points from a percentage perspective. If you look at it here, it's even worse if you go back all the way from 169 to 118. Doing ABCD structures on the way down, you can see them here, right? I'll just draw out some of them. Here's the first one, right, that continues. Gets an ABCD down. That one actually completes. You actually started another one, right? So on the monthly, you've got another one that projects even farther down. I don't know that this is done, but you get a pretty good bounce this evening. We'll see if that arrests some of the slide that's been taking place. If you look elsewhere, the dollar itself has got a nice big push to the upside, and that's because everything else is falling, right? FXE breaks underneath its ledge, breaks to the downside. If you pull it back, look at it on a weekly, still a range trade there. And then, of course, if you bring it to the monthly, certainly a range trade there. If you go look at the dollar itself, right, the dollar doing the opposite, dollar spiking to the upside, going over here and breaking a swing point high on the day. So on the daily charts, you got a breakout. If you move it to the weekly charts, what you're going to see there is a breakout as well trying to take place on the swing point high. 25.23 is the number by the end of the week. We'll see if it stays over that number. That range that we've talked about before, still in effect up until this week, was in this area here. You can see you're poking over the top. You're going up into this high. If this starts to motor to the north, we're going to see some more damage in these equities. And so, a fast move in currencies many times shows up as uncertainty and fear in the equity markets, and I do believe that was probably the primary thing driving these markets today. Let's go to the general markets and look at the indexes. Last night I talked about the fact that this thing was going to try to trade down. And it was pretty obvious that it was going to go and do that because we came up here and tried to test again and get over the swing point. Not swing point, but it's the key bar on the upside. We tried to get over it. We actually got over it by just a little bit, closed under it, did a hanging man. Today it just gives it up, right? Just blows through it all. Does leave a tail, which is interesting. Of course, it was down fairly big. But now it's finally back into this key bar here. That's the bar I've been talking about. That price point's here. You're deep into it. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing try to bounce, right? Get some sort of a bounce back into this area, and this is going to be the key area now on the bounce. If it fails that bounce, then you set up ABCD structures to the downside. Where are they from? They're starting here to this low now. Wherever the bounce takes it, and let's just assume it takes it back to that area, and then you've got an ABCD structure that could blow out these lows. So that's the risk now, that you have this wide price spread bar. You don't have the huge volume pickup. Of course, you're not coming into anything yet. in terms of a test. In other words, we're not down here testing these areas. That would be significant when you get down there. You did get into the big bar. That was what's been holding it up. I suspect a bounce back to that area is the ideal place if you wanted a short to actually put those shorts on, and I suspect there will be traders out there thinking just that. If you look at the NASDAQ now, the NASDAQ so far had held on a daily, right, had held these swing point retests. And so those are what we call bullish retest regenerates. It got under it one time and then right back over it. You actually had a lower one that was holding it there. Well, today it blows them all away. Volume does escalate a little bit. And so now you're trying to come back into these big bars that we've been looking at elsewhere. This stronger index now is trying to trade back down that way. If we look at the weekly here, right, I mean, this is like nothing really, right? I mean, if you go back and look at what happened earlier on that decline, right, that decline was quite a bit deeper than where we are now. You've just been hanging up here. And so even though, you know, you get a big down day, everybody gets fearful, you know, if you look at it in a little longer term perspective, and I'm going to pull the S&P back up, you know, this looks like a little blip. Now the problem is that the blip can turn into something else, especially on the S&P, which never got to new highs. You know, well, when I say didn't get to new highs, was unable to get back to new highs. It certainly got over the highs once before. Now you have a little ABCD structure here that can take it a little bit deeper and into these swing point highs for bullish retest regenerates. So I don't think this is the end of the world, but I think that it's kind of a wake-up call for the bulls. If they're going to hold this thing and they're going to make new highs, they're going to have to step up very soon. 2085 is the number here, just underneath it actually, about 2080. And if you come back to here and look at this number, it's 2068, and that's the swing point high on the monthly time frame. So anywhere from about 68 to 85 is kind of a key area on the way down if this continues to sell off. Go to the strongest index out there, which is the NDX itself. This one was in threatening to blow away those swing point highs. Remember, there was 3 of them lined up when it went over. Almost did that today, but not quite. Holds in there, so you come back down, you test into it. If you go back and look at your breakout bar, compare the volume on the breakout bar, doing about 20 compared to about 18, so I don't see the volumes here. So it looks to me like, you know, yeah, a big scare, probably get a bounce. The failed bounce is what you really have to worry about, not the first leg down. That's the indexes. We're starting to get into some of the earnings season. Had a couple stocks warn. Fortinet's one of them. Illumina is another one. Illumina was last night. They were down 25% today. Fortinet looks like it's down about 16-70% after hours. Some of the earnings today, actually pretty much all the earnings today got sold, including Alcoa. And we've got the CSX tomorrow. And I don't remember, I don't have it in front of me, I don't remember exactly what was on Thursday, but we get into the banks on Friday, and I think it's really going to be up to the XLF to try to turn this thing around, because you need some news to turn this around right now. And right now, you're just not getting anything out there. It's just a dearth of news, and the fears of the currency moves has been moving the markets. Here's the XLF. Volume expands a little bit today. And what is it doing? It's coming back into this one. Yeah, this one can trade a little bit deeper, but I suspect that's where they'll try to arrest the decline. Let's look at the XLK, since that's been the strongest index. And if we look at it, it also, actually it got under that bullish retest region. It looks like 47.46. Yep, did on the XLK. Still looks good on the weekly, but again, another thorn in the side there as you break down another key level. I saw some real damage in the XLV today. That one blew out swing point lows on the daily and on the weekly, going after those swing point lows that are there. Energy's been the hot sector. Energy did come off a little bit today, but that still looks pretty good. Basic materials been getting beat up with gold, and they break swing point lows today as well. And just like the XLV, trying to come back into those lows on the weekly. The SOX, I was talking about this one starting to give it up. It did give it up today. Comes back in a swing point high. Volume not that heavy though. Yeah. What is that? 554. Yeah, actually it was decent. That's probably going to test it again tomorrow. So I guess the real thing here tonight is, where do we stand on these indexes and on these markets? And, you get this much damage, it doesn't just immediately go away. That was true before, certainly true now. And I'm pulling up the world markets. I wanted to take a quick look at Europe and see how it traded today. Here's the DAX. So you get a hanging man on the DAX. This one's going to trade down tomorrow as well. Comes into this big bar is going to be the test, 10.531. That probably will hold it this time around. Let me see what the Swiss market looks like. And same thing, hanging man. That one can trade even deeper. So I don't see Europe, disintegrating, but I don't see Europe helping. And so if we go back to the S&P and the NASDAQ and the NDX and ask ourselves, what are we going to get tomorrow? It looks to me like you're going to see some more pressure sometime during the day tomorrow, and then you probably get a bounce. Will it test these lows again tomorrow or even get down to these? I kind of doubt it, but that really is dependent on the currency. Like I said, the euro, not the euro, but the sterling actually got a bounce after hours, a pretty significant one. So it looks to me like you're probably going to get some sort of relief tomorrow, at least from the currency front. That's it for tonight. My guess is that you're going to see, we don't have great signals tonight, but you'll probably see a bounce materialize sometime tomorrow. Have a great one. I'll see you next time. Good night.